Many of us violinists suffer from TMD, that is temporomandibular joint dysfunction, leading to headaches, neck aches, even shoulder. The more research that's being done now on TMJ, TMD, is that this is really an upper body alignment issue and is better addressed that way. In my case, TMD came from really bad traumatic wisdom tooth extraction decades ago. But for some violinists, it may actually be caused from playing the instrument, especially if the violinist has clamped down here for years and years and years. And so that brings us to anchor points. The first anchor point is the shoulder. For example, if you use a shoulder rest, or even without a shoulder rest, if you use a pad or a cloth or nothing, you're generally resting the violin on the shoulder. There are a few violinists that hold the instrument with the corner on the collarbone, and then they support it in the hand off of the shoulder, but they've engaged the jaw significantly, especially in downward shifting and vibrato. So we have to think about a way to spread the weight more evenly across more anchors. So that first anchor is the shoulder, as I mentioned. The second anchor is the jaw or chin. Whether you look down the strings or straight ahead, you've engaged this. And then the third anchor, hopefully for most of us, is some support in the left hand. That is, if I remove that anchor and then I bring it, the arm will simply pivot the violin, lifting it about an inch. By doing that, I've distributed the weight between three anchors fairly evenly, and I can go back to that hand support. So even if I need to clamp down for a measure or two, or a certain effect, or something I'm going for artistically, I can then bring the violin back into the hand at will. For some of us, that's not enough. We're playing long hours. Maybe we play a solid body electric instrument. Maybe for one reason or another, we need to find ways to practice with a fourth anchor. And so I spend some time, particularly in warm-ups, using a strap of some sort as a fourth anchor, which really gives me a lot of insight into how I'm using my body when I play. So, for example, this is a Vio strap, an American company. I think it's primarily for teachers because when you put on the strap, you can let the violin hang and be hands-free. You can tune up a student's violin or write on a chalkboard or whatever. So this is pretty simple. There is a piece of some sort of plastic material, I don't know what that is, and you basically go under the fingerboard until you get to the neck block. So there's a block of wood here in the violin, and so this is located in a good place. If you have an extremely valuable instrument over time, I'm wondering if this might press into the varnish a little bit. This is a very fine violin, and I have noticed no damage, and I use the strap frequently, but I also use other less invasive straps. Like I said, I've seen no damage, but I have been wondering about maybe putting a very thin strip of rubber or velvet or something on this just to protect so that the right angles aren't putting pressure into the varnish. So here's how it works. Hands-free. Now, each strap has its own qualities. And so this one, you have to find the angle that really works for you and the length that really works for you. I think right now this one is a little bit short for this shoulder rest. But basically, I can feel it here on the neck. I can feel the violin in the hand, which is marvelous. For example, with this strap, I can take the chin off and I can do vibrato. I can do downshifts with no chin. I don't even need the chin rest. However, the Vio strap does require a shoulder rest because that's what angles the plastic buckle away from the back of the instrument. So that's the Vio strap. The next one that I have is simply a scarf. I have a long raw silk scarf from India. And what I like to do with this one is to go Okay, one could go under the tailpiece. There's a great Baroque violinist, Enrico Onofri, who played like this for decades, with no chin rest, no shoulder rest. He just had the scarf pulling essentially on the tail gut or the tail wire. I find it mutes the sound a little bit, and I don't really like having something pull on the tailpiece and therefore the strings and the bridge. I don't like that idea. So I like to use this one with a chin rest, and I just... Most chin rests work great. In fact, this Guarneri model works beautifully because the scarf ends up grabbing it right here at the extended part, and so it ends up pulling more there than, well, I think in both places, honestly, here and here. So it distributes with two anchors. So with this one, I'll tie some sort of a knot that I can move very easily to loosen it, to take the violin off, put the violin on, and tighten the knot. There's several of them that I keep going back to on YouTube, but just to show you the idea, so you tie a knot here and you end up having this sort of cravat formal look, and then you can loosen and tighten the knot, and that does the same thing as the viol strap, but it distributes the weight differently. With the viol strap, I find most of the with the way I hold the violin, most of the pressure is in this one spot on my neck, so I don't use it all the time. I use it for certain things. Then sometimes I'll move to this because it feels very similar, but it distributes the pressure or the weight a little more. Then recently I acquired this Happy Necks. Happy Necks is one word, and it's N-E-X at the end. And this is interesting too, especially for my heavier electric violin. You put this one under the right arm. So this is really different. This is more like what you might have seen in the electric violin world, where there's a couple of makers and designers that are exploring moving the anchor lower, getting to the bottom of the upper body, really, by putting it here, which is fabulous. Now, again, Happy Necks recommends that you put this under the tailpiece. I don't like that. I don't like to be pulling on the violin playing parts. Of course, the bridge is not even glued on the violin and shouldn't be, and so these parts are where they need to be. So what I like to do is, again, just go under the chin rest. And again, I can bring it closer to the tailpiece, or I can lift it off the tailpiece even. And this is actually quite nice. It does want to pull the instrument this way. So if I'm doing this, it requires a little bit of adjusting. I found that if I use a little bit of jaw, like 5 or 10%, just to kind of keep it from wanting to slip the wrong way. But first, the advantage is I can do all of my practice without the chin, without the jaw. And that really saves me, because when I come back after lunch and practice again, I'm not fatigued and I don't use any kind of strap, and then I just play normally, but I've got another couple hours in me without any discomfort. Now, when you use these, as I said, each strap is different from one another. So this one pulls the violin a little downward. The viol strap puts all of the weight in one place for the way I hold the instrument. The scarf distributes a little bit better, but you get very hot as you play with a scarf around your neck, or you might. And so they need to be explored, but I think that they're a wonderful way to increase our awareness of just how much we're engaging the jaw, the clamping between the jaw and the shoulder, clamping with the thumb, or if we're not supporting enough with the left hand, this is a great way to incorporate that easily into our warm-ups and into the early stages of our daily practice.